Hey, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of As Good as It Gets. I'm Rick Hampton. My good buddy, Derrick Gervin, coming to you on a Thursday evening. Hope everybody's doing well. We're approaching the end of the week. Gee, we are already in August, man. I mean, time, summer is flying by. We're in the dog days of August, as we say. And it's still a lot of stuff going on in the world of sports. You know, we got NFL training camp going on. In fact, it's a football game on right now. Just think, man, for the rest of the weekends to February, we got football. I mean, we're going to have some. This is preseason football right now, but nonetheless, we got football. And once football starts, everything just seems to.
The road goes back quick. You see who they got tonight, though. The marquee name, the new Aaron Rodgers. So.
Oh yeah. You know they're gonna milk that, man. You're gonna see as much Aaron Rodgers as you do some of these guys running for president.
Well, if he wins this year, if he can help his team win, we'll see some more discount double check commercials. So some more money in his pocket.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. They're gonna milk that horse, and you know nowhere in the world he's gonna play tonight, but they're gonna show the Jets.
They're gonna show he's gonna be like Elvis tonight. He'll be the king on the sideline, and they'll continuously put the cameras on him.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Baseball season's winding down, man. You know, we'll be getting into
Ricky, can anybody stop the Atlanta Braves?
No.
Well,
nope. They are. I mean, they got everything, and you know, our good friend Tim Turner is loving that.
Yeah, the Braves. Well, they the hottest team in the league, along with the Cubs right now. I believe the Cubs 8-2 in their last 10, or if I'm correct. And they 7-3. So, but you know, Atlanta, if you look at it, their road record's better than their home record.
Yeah, I think in the National League, it's gonna be the Dodgers and the Braves to get in the World Series. And man, the most surprising team in all of baseball is the Baltimore Orioles. You know,
yeah.
A couple years ago, they were the worst team in baseball. And guess who's in last place in the American League East, D?
Do I have to guess it? Because if I had to guess, I would say, the Willie Hortons, the Detroit Tigers.
No. The New York Yankees.
Oh, they are, because they like 58 and 54. Their record is not that great. They only like 4 games over 500 or something.
Yeah. The New York Yankees, man.
Well, Giancarlo Stanton, and if you remember, Ricky, we talked about this. Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, and every year the Yankees go out and they get these home run guys. But when it comes to playoff time, it's just who can make contact. And the home run doesn't win in the playoffs. It's about just getting on base.
Yeah, and you know they've had injuries too. You know, you just said his name now. I forgot him already.
Judge,
yeah, Judge has been out.
He's the Kawhi of the. I hate to say it that way. The Kawhi AD of the. Well, they spent a lot of money on him. He's been getting hurt ever since. He was a couple years ago. He was trying to smash the home run record. But he gets hurt. He gets hurt a lot.
Yeah, I mean, he still got 20 home runs this year, but that's a little slow when you think about what he did last year.
Well, I mean, and Ricky, let me ask you this quickly before. Who's the best player in baseball? Because clearly, in my mind, this something we've never seen before with Shohei Ohtani.
Ohtani. Yeah.
Well, okay, so I'm not crazy.
I don't even think it's close, man. This dude 9-5 as a pitcher, and he's got 39 home runs, and he's batting 300. Come on, man.
Didn't he pitch the other day, a doubleheader? He pitched the first game, and then he hit 2 homers in the next game.
Yeah, He did that
Oh,
against. He did that against my Tigers though. So that
oh
was really
man. Well, at least you know I keep up with a little bit of baseball.
hey, I don't know how much that count he did against the Tigers.
It counts. It counts.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. The guy's a hell of a player. He's a hell of a player. But I watch baseball kind of from afar during the regular season. 162 games. That's just a
That's a
lot
lot.
for me,
The
man.
same. Yeah. We're the same. I'm the same. I started tuning in about right now. The
Yeah,
last week, I actually started really getting into it.
yeah. And when the playoffs come, I mean, it's nothing more exciting, really. You get a good close baseball game during the playoffs. Uh,
Ricky, you know it, the reason I say that's the valid point that you just made, for me being a guy that loves football and basketball, but there seems to be nothing more difficult than getting that last out in the ninth inning.
oh yeah,
I mean, you could be it could be two outs, it could be two balls and two strikes. It seemed like that last out take an hour. You got 10
yeah,
foul balls. It's amazing. And then next thing you know, the team gets on base, and you know who's been the best at that the last few years? The Houston Astros.
yep, yep. And they just got Verlander back, man. So we'll see how that works out.
Don't make me cry, sir. You got a Detroit hat on, and then you mentioned
Yeah,
Justin Verlander.
yeah, man. It's been rough. But when you think about man, uh, Otani and what he's done in California with the Angels, and then they had the other guy, Mike Trout, arguably the two best players in baseball, and they haven't been able to win nothing.
Rick, they
Nothing.
brought in Pujols. Remember, ever since they brought in Albert Pujols, when he came in and left St. Louis, and all these high hopes they had with him and Trout, kind of remind me of Kawhi and Paul George, and they just never could seem to click. And then every year they struggle every single year. But I gotta say this is Shohei's last year. He's gonna be traded. He'll be a new team next season.
Yeah, I mean, but why would you trade the best team and the best player in baseball?
Because he wants to have a chance to win, kind of like Dame Lillard.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into that. Um, we would definitely get into that. But I'm trying to think of where I want to start. I know I want to start. Uh, the legendary rapper Ice Cube in the Big Three Basketball League, which is a lot of fun, D. Every summer. I mean, props to Ice Cube for making that thing go and be a success every summer to help get us through these dog days. But he made a comment the other day saying the defense played in the Big Three is tougher than the defense played in the NBA. And, everybody's been kind of questioning the defense that goes on in the NBA today. Victor Wembanyama said the defense isn't as tough as what he's seen overseas. And now Ice Cube said Big Three basketball, they play tougher defense than the NBA. Your thoughts?
Well, I think they play tougher defense in the Big Three as opposed to the NBA in the regular season. And the reason I say that, I agree with him, because you got only three players. And if you see, you got usually one player on one wing, you got somebody at the top, you got somebody on the opposite wing. So when you playing one-on-one, you have to be able, like right now, you showing, you got to be able to stay in front of your man. Because if you get beat, the help is usually going to be late. And that's the reason why. It's because there's only three guys. But we know the NBA playoff defense is immaculate, to be honest about it. But he's got a valid point. There's three guys, so you have to be able to man up, basically. And the reason I'll say it is, I agree, is because my brother has a team. He's been coaching in the league 6 years. And it kind of frustrates me because I rode him a couple of days. His guys have breakdowns defensively one-on-one, and it ends up costing them every single year. So, yeah, I kind of agree. He's kind of got a valid point.
And not only that, I mean, Big Three basketball is half-court basketball all the time anyway. So there are no easy. It shouldn't be any easy buckets. You're not gonna get any transition buckets because you're
Well,
always in the half court.
Well, the difference, NBA now is a lot of guys that can shoot the ball, and the big three, you must be able to at least be a decent defender, or you're gonna be sitting on the bench because you only got two guys on the bench that are subs. So if you can't get it done, you're probably not gonna be in that league very long. Like right there, look, it's just one-on-one. You got to be able to stand in front of your man, and the reason I believe he said that, if you look at the NBA today. It's a different game. It's more spread out, more of a three ball, like a horse contest for the people that used to play horse. But when it comes playoff time, then it becomes lockdown, man-to-man defense. Stay with your guy, or they do a lot of switching. And the switching is the main reason I believe he said they play better defense in the big three because they're not doing a lot of switching. And in the NBA, it's automatic switching now.
Hey, D, is this a walk by Michael Beasley?
Let me see that again. Knowing him, oh yes, he walked before he put the ball on the floor.
Okay, I'm gonna play it back here.
Yes,
that's a walk.
Yes, both feet actually. Yes,
that wasn't a walk. That was a run.
Right. Yes, he probably argued about it, but it's a walk. Yes.
Yeah.
That's probably why he used to beat LeBron in one-on-one because he was traveling.
but my favorite big three player would always be Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf.
I knew who you were gonna say before you said it, and mine too, Ricky. The guy played to his 50s. I mean, come on, and still could knock down that jump shot. I was kind of disappointed last season. His team didn't do as well, but the reason in my mind, because they didn't play him like they were supposed to. One of their players, when they got down to the playoffs, I don't even think he played a minute in one of the games. So I was glad to see them get beat because that's who I was tuning in to watch was him shoot that jumper.
Yeah, man, he such a quick release. And our good buddy Jared Wallace checking in and said, I'm getting tickets to the big three when it comes to Motown. Getting the tickets this weekend. Jared would appreciate playing defense in the big three. This dude loves playing defense, man.
Then Jared, how old is Jared? Because Jared should be trying to play in that game they got in Detroit next month, and they got a big East versus West All-Star game that they have every year.
Yeah, Jared. He's probably a little old for that now.
Oh, okay.
In his youth, my man Jared was a demon on the defensive end. That's for sure. But yeah, props to Ice Cube, man, for making that happen and giving some of the older guys like Mahmoud an opportunity to show and demonstrate their skills.
It's great, but Ricky, they also give a few guys now that played overseas that's not even an NBA. And right now I'm gonna support that because it gives these guys a chance to be seen. But ordinarily, a lot of people wanted to just be NBA players, but they got to remember that these guys are still professional basketball players getting money, getting paid to play the game. So I'm glad to see them incorporate some of these guys from overseas.
Yeah, Jared says I'm 55 and still D'ing the guys up.
See, he can play, Ricky. 55. They want me to play it. I'm 60.
D, you can still go out there and give them some numbers on the offensive end for sure. I don't know what your D would be at 60, but I guarantee you could put it in the basket.
I'll be giving them. As they're running up the floor by me, I'll be telling them, a few years ago, I would have gave you 50. Those are the only numbers I'll be giving up now.
I hear you on that, man. Oh, shoot. Hey, but let's get into some NBA talk. And I've just been thinking about some stuff that's been going on and some of the moves made in the offseason. And I want to just pick your brain on some of this stuff. And let's start in in Golden State with Chris Paul. And how do you see that working? And how do you manage him at 38? Chris has had trouble finishing seasons off with injuries. And if they can keep him healthy, have him going by the playoff time, how does that work in Golden State?
Well, for first thing for me, it's going to be interesting again because it could start off like last year with the Jordan Poole thing. If you remember, Draymond made some comments as soon as Chris Paul came to the team about how they weren't friends and he didn't like Chris Paul, all that kind of nonsense. So hopefully they can get that worked out. And then today, Chris Paul made a comment about Steph Curry's not the best point guard to ever play because he's not he doesn't run the offense. He doesn't set up guys. So right now it doesn't look like they're all to a great start. But as far as Chris playing, I think it's good for him. I don't think he should start, to be honest. I think they should let him play with the second unit with Kuminga and the younger guys, Moses Moody, and see, just give him a test and see how his body holds up. And if his body holds up with the second unit, then as the season goes on, you can start looking at him more. If you even wanted to occasionally put him in the starting lineup, you could do that. But the first thing you got to do is see how durable he's going to be. And I think the best thing for him is to play between 20 and 24 minutes a game and to play some of those minutes with Steph and Draymond and those guys. But to be that Energizer Bunny for the second unit is where I would put him right now.
And Derrick, in terms of his game, I'm not talking about his injuries right now. What has the drop-off, if any, has been in his game?
Speed, just speed. He never was the fastest guy, but now it takes him a little longer to get warmed up and stuff. But one thing I will say about him is he's still Chris Paul. He still can knock down that open jump shot. He wouldn't have to create his own shot as much with Golden State. He's a guy that can catch and shoot. So he's still a ball player. I was so happy that they picked him up because a lot of people had written him off. And I'm on Facebook a lot, and a lot of people were laughing at me when I said Chris Paul still had a lot to give. But I noticed those same people have been quiet since he got picked up by the Golden State Warriors. So maybe they'll listen and learn. If Golden State picks him up, that means that they know he still has something to offer. And I feel the same way.
Yeah, and think about it, man. They could run a lineup out there that will have 4 future Hall of Famers in it.
But Ricky, here's the key.
Will be a Hall of Fame player one day, and And Klay
but here's the key, Ricky. Are they going to go? Okay, are they? This is when you ask the question. Here's the problem. I've been hearing them talk about this lineup: Chris Paul, Steph, Klay, Wiggins, and Draymond. The only problem I have with that as a starting lineup, isn't that why they lost in the playoffs last year? Because they had no rebounding other than Kevon Looney, and they had no rim protector. So that's why I said Chris coming off the bench, but I think they need to make another move for a big man. They still haven't replaced James Wiseman. Chris Paul's not a replacement for James Wiseman. So really, they haven't upgraded the team until they get a rim protector.
Yeah, Jared agrees with you. I think he has something off, but Chris needs to come off the bench so that he's not injured before the playoffs. Man, I would love to see him just be on at the best he can be during the playoffs, just to see, what would happen.
Ricky, I'm conflicted because I don't like Golden State, okay? But I want to see Chris Paul get a championship.
Mm-hmm. I got you.
I'm a big CP3 fan, and so that kind of bothers me. I guess I would be able to deal with it, but I do want to see him get a ring because I think a ring just elevates him so high into the top 50, 75 list. A ring is all he's missing. With that ring, man, when you start talking about him with the Isaiah Thomases and the Magic Johnsons and Oscar Robertsons. And that's how I really feel if you're talking about point guard.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. D, was thinking about this today, want to run this by you. As these teams, the rosters are kind of coming together now. Is it a team out there that people might be sleeping on? And then is it a team out there, everybody's like, oh, they're going to be a problem. But you think, well, maybe, but they may have some problems.
Oh, man, that's a tough
So
one.
a sleeping team and a disappointing team.
I think the team that's going to be ascending is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I just think after the way they finished last year, they were very competitive, and they played without Chet Holmgren.
And nobody's talking about them.
Well, you got to look at they had a first-team All-NBA player, even though they only finished 40 and 42.
Right,
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has become a superstar. So I expect good things from them. They have good defense. They're solid on both ends of the floor. They have shooters. They have guys that can go to the basket. I mean, they have it all. And on the other end, my disappointing team, I would say that right now, if I was to look at it, would be the Philadelphia 76ers. Because we don't know what's going on there, man. I'm looking at Daryl Moore. He was on Facebook yesterday. He's traveling around having fun, and he does that all the time. It's usually ping pong. But now he's doing something else. So they got to figure out what they're going to do with this James Harden situation, because I told you on one of our previous shows that I don't see James Harden being back in Philadelphia. I'm saying 0% of him playing, but being there when the year begins. Right. So they got all that confusion. It looked like we back to trust in the process again. So that would be my team, would be Philadelphia, that I would be worried about.
I want to go in on them, but I really like what you said about Oklahoma. One of the reasons why, think about it, they were 40 and 42 last year, and this guy didn't play a single minute. And I'm talking about Chet Holmgren, who was really impressive in the summer league. He'll be a rookie, but he's got a year of the life in the NBA, and man, he's going to bring something to that roster.
And he's already put on 15 pounds from last season. And I'm very high on him. I think the kid is going to be special. I think he's perfect for Oklahoma City because he doesn't really have to take a back seat to anyone. They're going to make sure they integrate him in the offense. And I think he's going to surprise a lot of people on the offensive end. Defensively, I think he's going to be spectacular. So, yeah, I'm looking at them. They're going to give a lot of teams problems this season.
My one concern with Oklahoma would be the fact they're in the West. Well, man, it's a lot of good teams out there, D.
Well, it's the same as it's the team that stays healthy, basically, because all of those teams are very talented. Look, I could have mentioned another team as a team that's going to be ascending. I chose to go with Oklahoma City, but I could have went to Memphis Grizzlies. So they're going to be better. Ja's going to be out the first 25 games, but as you know, they have Marcus Smart. They acquired him, and they acquired Grant Williams. And now they'll have Brendan Clark back, and they'll also have a healthy Steven Adams back. And if you look at it last year, they were the top 2 seed behind Denver last year before those guys went down with injuries. So it's going to be very interesting.
And the funny thing about Memphis, because John has missed time before, they seem to play well without him.
They might play better without him. I hate to say that, but they continuously win. Their record is better with him without him than it is with him.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Rudy? Rudy's checking in and said, OKC is a team on the rise. I need to throw another surprise team to watch as Orlando in the East. OKC has the dark horse Rookie of the Year candidate with Carson Wallace outside of Chet.
Cason Wallace.
Cason Wallace. Yeah.
I only corrected you because I don't want my buddy to get mad at me because I don't want his big brother to get mad at me.
What are your thoughts about Rudy's comments?
Okay, Orlando. I don't know because they already have problems in Orlando. You know, people they already talking about them donating 50,000 to the Ron DeSantis, but that's another thing. But I don't know. I think Cole Anthony and those guys, Suggs, they got some good guys. Banchero coming back, but I think they could maybe surprise some teams. But I wouldn't be able to put them up there with the Miamis and the Bostons and not even the Nets. The Nets are making some good moves. They're not bringing in superstars, but they bringing in guys that'll play hard for every minute that they're on the floor. So there's about 4 or 5 teams. You still got Cleveland, who I think will be better next year. You still have Atlanta Hawks, who I think will be better next year, this coming season. So I think Orlando would be a better team, but I think maybe they will end up as a play-in type team, fighting for the play-in.
Hey, break down Cason Wallace for us, D.
Oh, boy, nice guard from Kentucky. He played with John Calipari, so he's got that experience under him. He can score if you need him to score. He can penetrate. He can find players. He's a really good, solid player. He's from Houston, and he's played against a lot of good competition in high school. So I started hearing about him when he's a 10th grader. He basically can do whatever you need him to do. He can defend. He can get a stop right if you need him to get a stop on a particular play. But he can distribute the ball and he can get to that basket. He's a lower version of De'Aaron Fox potentially, Ricky, which is really not a bad thing.
Ooh, if you mentioned really, because Fox, man, and he's underrated. And you know the thing about Fox, D, and that Sacramento team, people, when they made that run in the playoffs and gave Golden State fits, people are like, where did they come from? I'm like, man, Fox has been in the league. I think that was Fox's 5th or 6th year last season. But they are real. People know who he is now.
Yeah, I was just disappointed that he didn't make first team All NBA. I couldn't understand that. That was a popularity thing, and I'm gonna be honest. They gave Steph that guy's position. It wasn't fair because they had the 2nd best record in the league, and he was the leading scorer in the 4th quarter in the entire NBA. He was their closer. So when you got a guy that's led his team to the 2nd best record in the Western Conference, and they're winning. He's not just he's delivering and they're winning. That to me, yeah, he was first team All NBA, but maybe he'll make up for it. They brought some hunger back to him, so maybe he'll make up for it this year and go a step further.
Yeah, I think people still can't. When you've been down like Sacramento, I think people, it's Sacramento. They can't be, because it's Sacramento. But
now, Ricky. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that makes it even more of a problem for me. So, okay, because you look at it, right? And I hate to take people off their position. So I'll leave Steph on there, and I'll go to the other first team All-NBA guard, who I just talked about, Shai Gilgeous. I'm confused because how could Shai Gilgeous make first team All-NBA when he leads them to a 40-42 record, right, and De'Aaron Fox is the closer, the best closer in the league, and his team finishes 2nd behind the Denver Nuggets. So that was a little confusing to me.
Yeah, and I'm totally with you on that, for sure, D. You are absolutely on point about that. Now, well, let's go. You mentioned them earlier, but you think the Sixers could be a team that disappoints?
Yes,
they got the doggone MVP here.
But they talking about him maybe wanting to be traded. His name, I've heard his name mentioned with the Knicks and all that crazy stuff. So, Joel's kind of quirky from Monday to Tuesday. So, and that's not good. That's not good when you're trying to put a winning organization together. He's still worried about winning MVPs. Maybe this will be a wake-up call for him with Jokic winning the Finals MVP. But in the past, Joel has seemed like he's played more for Joel than he's played for the team.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you were talking. You also mentioned James Harden is still on the roster, and I was going to ask you this question. We can kind of blend this in with what's going on in Philly and Harden, and along with Damian Lillard. I wonder which one of those guys will be on the move first.
I'm gonna have to say this Harden thing could drag on because they trying to get him to the Clippers, but they don't want to give up Terrence Mann, I believe, is the holdup. And I wouldn't give up Terrence Mann either to get James Harden at this point in his career. So James Harden is not a superstar anymore. He's still a very good player, but he's not that superstar. So for me, I would say that Dame would be leaving first because I think Dame's getting itchy. And, he's going to have to start figuring this out because they already have Scoot Henderson. They have Anthony Simons. And they have another rookie they brought in that's a really good player. So I would say Dame's going to have to move first because I just think they're overcrowded in the backcourt. So that would be my first move. And then Houston, Daryl Morey doesn't like to do things fast. So he's going to try to milk this as long as he can and get the best reward that he can out of it. And that's going to be hard because James Harden is not who he was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. And, hey, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier. But we were talking about the Magic, a little news that's going on. The NBA Players Association called the Orlando Magic out for their donation to Ron DeSantis's super PAC. DeSantis is the governor of Florida. He's running for president. And, he's had some controversial stances. One comment he made was where he thought when slaves learned skills as the skills some slaves learned was beneficial to their life, which is utterly ridiculous.
A blacksmith yeah. And all that.
So this is from the NBA Players Association. A political contribution from the Orlando Magic is alarming given recent comments and policies of its beneficiary. NBA governors, players, and personnel have the right to express their personal political views, including through their donation and statements. However, if contributions are made on behalf of an entire team using money earned through the labor of its employees, it's incumbent upon the team governors to consider the diverse values and perspectives of the staff and players. The Magic's donation does not represent player support for the recipient. And props to Larry Nance Jr. for calling that out by the Magic. And that statement makes sense. I mean,
it breaks my heart, Ricky, for them to even donate that money. I know it's their money, but the thing that bothers me the most is usually they donate. If you look at it, they donate to these political action committees. They've donated a lot of $500 donations.
Mm-hmm.
I looked it up. A lot of $500 donations, $2,000. For this, they donated $50,000.
Yeah.
And I have a big problem with that because it's a predominantly black team.
Yeah, and the Boss family owns the Magic, and the Boss family made their money through Amway, based in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And of course, Betsy the Boss was at one point the Secretary of Education for the 45th president, and that's probably all you need to know.
What name you say? The spell checker? Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, that, and all that, none of that stuff helps your team get ready for the season.
I don't, hey, Ricky, I don't understand it because I have a friend that went to high school here and that's from San Antonio that works in that organization, Charles Bo Outlaw, who's
Mm.
also African American. So I don't know what they could be thinking. You got all these African American black players, you got all these people in the front office, and then it's like you just ignoring their feelings. I don't get it. It's just money. Just we giving away money. We don't care about your feelings, but we want you to come out here and give us your all when the season starts. That's kind of backwards thinking for me.
And then you make it shortly after DeSantis makes one of the most uh, 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 offensive statements you could ever make as a political candidate for for the highest office in the land. Uh, you know,
But remember, Ricky,
he
he
made the
said this stuff.
about the
Don't
slaves.
remember though. He said this stuff was not his ideas.
Oh yeah,
He's the one. They were his ideas for 100%. But he's
yeah,
trying to put past the buck.
yeah.
So that tells me what kind of man he is. And that also tells me about the people that's supporting him. They still think this is 1619. We're not going backwards. We're moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, but let's keep it moving, man. Another guy who I want you to break down for me is taking his talents to Massachusetts and the Garden. That's Christian Porzingis. Uh, Man, he's got a chance to add to that team in the East. Big 7-footer, can shoot it. We talked about him a little bit the other day, but I just really think this is one of the best moves of the offseason, Derek.
I think it helps them as far as they're going to have to go more offensive as opposed to defensive. Their trademark has been defense. But giving up Marcus Smart and giving up Grant Williams tells me that they want to pick up the pace. And if you remember, they got Brogdon still. He hasn't been traded yet. They already said Derrick White will be the starting point guard. And remember, they also have another good young man on the bench, Kevin Pritchard. So it tells me that they're going to pick up the pace. I like that. If they pick up the pace, I think it'll make it better for Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to get some more open looks out on the fast break, as opposed to having to score in the half-court offense as much as they've had to. But on the other side, if it breaks down now and they need that third guy that they can go to and he can score, they have Porzingis. That used to be Al Horford. But we know Al is almost on his way out, and he's about 37, 38 now. Yeah. So they've got that third option. So, yes, I think it's a good move, even though they lost 2 defensive players.
Right. And, Porzingis can block shots.
No, he's a good defender. He's
not known, right. He's mostly known for his offense, and he's a good passer. So that is really going to be interesting in the East.
Hey, Ricky, let me say this quickly. Remember now, if you have to, it'll work better than, say, a Karl Anthony Towns and Gobert. If you have to, you can go to a Porzingis and Robert Williams together.
Mm-hmm.
So just picture that lineup. You got those two. You got Porzingis and Robert Williams on the floor, and you got Tatum and Brown and Derrick White. I think that's a heck of a lineup. And Al Horford, if you need to go to defense.
Yeah. Do you like them over Milwaukee now?
I would say, oh man, that's a tough one because I'm gonna say yes, and the reason I'm gonna say yes is because I think Porzingis is quick enough and tall enough. His length can cause some problems for Giannis because most times Giannis is driving right. And if he drives left going downhill, he's stopping and pivoting and turning back right. So, yeah, I would put Boston over Milwaukee right now. I know Chris Middleton re-signed, I believe, 3 years or whatever, like $40 million a year. But I don't think he's been the same the last 2 years. Drew Holiday kind of got torched a little bit in the playoffs, surprisingly, last year. And I do mean torched. And that's something that's uncharacteristic for him. I just think then you got your coaches gone, so there's no more Budenholzer. So I think they're kind of in a transition. I don't mean they're going for they're ready to stop trying to win. I just think they're going through some things. They got to blend this team back together again, and I don't think that's going to happen right away. So I would put Boston over them.
So deep. So okay, if that's the case, when you look at the East, and typically in the East, the last year and a half of the previous season, it's kind of been Milwaukee, Boston, Philly, Cleveland kind of on the outside. All three of those teams got some question marks. Can Cleveland make a jump?
Man, that's a tough one. I don't know, Ricky, because after seeing Jared Allen and Mobley, I believe Mobley's going to get better. But Jared Allen kind of got exposed like Errol Spence, like my guy Errol Spence the other night. So that's kind of concerning for me. I mean, he was absolutely horrible in the playoffs. It wasn't even that he played bad; he played terrible. So he's been on the trading block. So I don't know how if they keep him, how is he going to respond to that? And sometimes guys are very sensitive. When they even mentioned in trades, they're never the same player for that organization. And then Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, they disappointed me as well. Donovan, I was really disappointed in Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs. So I'm going to say I'm not that convinced in Cleveland yet. Maybe next year, not this coming season, but maybe the following, when this young guy Okogie gets a little more experience. Josh Okogie.
What about Brooklyn, D? They're going to have Ben Simmons healthy.
I like them, Ricky. They're the team. You know who they remind me of? They don't have any stars. If you look at their team, it kind of reminds me of Allen Iverson. Take Iverson off of that team that the 76ers had that year they went to the finals. They got a bunch of blue-collar workers, I'll call them, what we're used to in our Detroit players. So anytime you play like that, you have an opportunity. But on the other side, a lot of teams are now going to be preparing to stop Mikal Bridges. He had a coming out party after he was traded from Phoenix. And we know he got there and he basically became a star the last half of the season. So I don't see Mikal Bridges as a first option player, kind of like Jimmy Butler. I see them as really good second complementary players. So I think the Nets will still be in the middle of the pack, but they're going to give you everything they have every night. I think that the Pistons might do better than the Nets, to be honest about it.
Oh, D, I'm hoping you're right, but man, they got such a long way to go. They're going to get Cade. Cade Cunningham is 100% healthy, full go. He's a really good player, but still.
You got to remember who they hired as well, though. You got to factor that in, too.
Monty Williams, yeah.
So it's not just like they picked some guy off the streets. They picked a guy that's been in the heat of the battle, that's been in the fire. And he's a guy that I think works better with young players. It didn't go so well, the situation with the Big Aiden, but sometimes it's just the wrong. Sometimes a change is needed. I'm sorry. Someone's trying to call me from the George Gervin gym. But yeah, I think sometimes change is needed. So I think Monty's going to be a good thing. And then you look at it, Ricky, we've got a really crowded backcourt. We got a pretty good front court with Bagley, Duran, Wiseman. You still got Bogdanovich. They acquired Joe Harris. We got the rookie, one of the brothers, Thompson brothers. We got the young Cade Cunningham. We got Ivy, who just cut his hair. So we got some players ready to make a name for themselves.
I'm kind of with Jared. They'll go from 17 wins to 32 wins. I'm with you, Jared. But I'm hoping D is right about my Pistons.
32 wins could beat out Brooklyn potentially, though.
But you know what? They do. Look, we're not going to say it. Wiseman is a sleeper, man. I'm telling you. If Monty could get him going, because Derrick, there were games he played here last year. I mean, he looked like, oh, that's why he was the number one pick in the draft.
Well, you know, Killian Hayes. I like young Killian Hayes, and I know he had a rough time last year because he had to kind of come out of himself when guys were getting hurt. When Cade Cunningham got hurt, that put the spotlight on Killian, and Killian is not really a scorer, and so the people in Detroit were really hard on him. But now he's on the trading block, so I think Monty's doing the right thing. I think all signs are pointing up. I think the Pistons have a chance to be in that play-in this year. I honestly do.
All right, brother. All right. I believe in you, D.
Ricky, it's the year.
Watch out for LA last year. I'm like, dude, when LA was 2-10, you were talking about watch out for LA.
I'm a karma guy, Ricky. Just like our Lions are getting ready to go 12-5. I also have faith in my Detroit Pistons.
All right.
And you heard that 12-5. You heard that.
I heard you. We're heading down the home stretch here, D. There's a couple more things I wanted to.
Ricky, about the collusion. Can we talk a little bit about that collusion?
Yeah. And these teams, like you said, the rosters aren't fully together. And one of the reasons is because you think there's some collusion going on there.
I looked at the list of players that are sitting out that are free agents, and it broke my heart. They had about 40 guys on that list. You even I can name one that played well last year for Golden State. He's still out there, Jermichael Green.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Christian Wood, Kelly Oubre. There are numerous players that are out there that should be on rosters right now. And the reason I said collusion, and I hate to say that, but I got to be honest, it looks like you got some teams now that are trying to stack their teams like Phoenix, where you get 3 or 4 so-called stars, Ricky, and then you fill in the roster with guys making the minimum salaries. And so now you're going to be taking guys like Kelly Oubre, who made $13, $14 million last year. Christian Wood guy made $13, $14 million, and now you're going to try to get him for the bargain basement price, like the Clippers did Westbrook, $4 million, $4 or $5 million, instead of paying these guys what they really deserve, their market value. That's a problem for me.
Yeah, and I think it was it could have been Austin Rivers that was talking about that. That you either sign for mega dollars or,
the bottom, they taking away that middle, that 14 to 20 something. Yeah, they paid Austin Reeves like $14 million a year, which was a steal for them. But all these other guys, see, I got a young man that I know, Jordan Clarkson with the Utah Jazz, who's making $13, $14 million a year. And to me, he should already be been re-signed in that $20 to $22 million area, because if I'm correct, he was the leading scorer on that team or the second behind Markkanen. But he's one of the best. If you bring him off the bench, he would be one of the best 6 men in the league like he's been before. So it just seems like, they trying to pay the high salary guys and then to pay these other veterans basically the minimum salary that they could pay them, even though these are very, very good players that would be very integral parts of other teams, of good teams.
Now, how do you fix that? Is that on the Players Association also?
Yes, Chris Paul and those guys they got it. I'm sure they've already been hearing about it. There's a lot of people not happy. There's no reason these guys should still be sitting out, and they haven't been signed yet. If you look at Kelly Oubre, he averaged 20 points a game last year for the Charlotte Hornets. So Miles Bridges had his situation where he was removed from the team. Mm-hmm. Kelly stepped right in. And then you lose LaMelo Ball, who gets injured. Kelly's still stepping in. So it became basically the Kelly Oubre team and the PJ Washington. So yes, he was loyal to the team. So to me, they should have been loyal to him, but they let him go, and then they bring Miles Bridges back. So it's just stuff like that. He was loyal to the organization, but you replace him and you bring the guy who had problems. I'm glad they got that settled. But I think Oubre he's getting shafted. But there are several guys I think that I feel that way about.
Is T.J. Warren still out there?
He's not. Last I heard, he was still in Phoenix.
Wow.
Remember, he went in the trade with Durant.
Yeah.
They just kept him on the bench. They didn't play him like they should have, him and Terrence Ross. They had him sitting over there on the bench when they should have been in the game. So TJ, yeah, he's still with Phoenix Suns right now, who is another team that people better be watching out for, even though Bradley Beal is supposed to be the point guard.
John Wall is out there.
Yeah, he's been out there. It's a lot. If you look at the list, Ricky, it's a lot of guys that could step right in right now. But see, John Wall's another high-paid guy, and they don't want to pay him.
His career earnings, John Wall has made $229 million.
And they're going to make sure it doesn't get to 240. So they're going to pay him pennies on the dollar, which they've been trying to do. And if you really look at it, Ricky, when he played with the Clippers in the games that I saw, he looked pretty good. Mm-hmm. He didn't look like a guy that should be sitting out right now. So I thought he recovered quite well. He'll never be the John Wall that we saw that got up and down the floor like Jason Kidd, but he looked like a very serviceable player the last time I saw him play.
Man, some of these guys have – I'm looking here. Blake Griffin has made $258 million.
Wow.
And George Hill has made $109 million.
George Hill made that much money? No wonder he bought that big old ranch out here and got all these animals out here in San Antonio. He bought a whole lot of acres out here in San Antonio, man.
Now we know why, right?
I had no idea he made that much. Oh, my goodness.
He has made $109 million. Austin Rivers has made $54 million.
Hey, Ricky, but you know, sometimes people, when they look at these salaries, they not factoring in taxes.
Oh, yeah. You know, Uncle Sam's going to definitely get his.
Because if you play in California, say, perfect example, say in Golden State, if you make $27 million, you're only taking 12 home.
Yeah.
So people got to factor that in as well. And that's why these players deserve to get their maximum dollars while they're able, because the taxes kick in and it hurts these players way more than it hurts these billion-dollar owners.
Yeah, for sure. Goran Dragic, he's made $150 million in his career.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, financial security.
The NBA. One last question here. And I'm looking at it. Oh, man, I just see that Montrezl Harrell.
Oh, tore his ACL and his meniscus.
Wow.
Yeah, I sent a prayer on Facebook the other day, yesterday, I believe. He got hurt in the summer in a workout. Yeah, and I hate to see that, because I think he was getting ready to reestablish himself in Philadelphia. They didn't really use him last year like they should have. So I hate to see that, because I like Montrezl. He's a guy that gives it 100% anytime he's on the floor. So I'm wishing him a 100% recovery.
And that goes, man, that does not help the Sixers at all.
Well,
you're just talking about their problems this year, because he can be really effective coming off the bench when you play him the right way.
They're a team in turmoil, and then Doc Rivers is gone, of course. So they're starting over. Now you got to implement Nick Nurse's style of play. They got a lot of things that aren't going in their direction, and that are going more in a negative direction than a positive direction.
Yeah. Well, D, we're gonna get out of here, man. Boy, the time just flies when we get to talking about this stuff, brother.
I love it.
Well, we want to thank everybody for checking us out. We want to thank all our viewers out there for your questions and your comments. We will be back next Thursday. But until then, for my great friend Derrick Gervin, I'm Rick Hampton. Peace, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Great weekend. And thanks for tuning in. Ricky, I'm going to text you in a minute as soon as we get off the air.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. Everybody take care.